What is up, you guys? My name is ShawKill, and welcome back to another update video. This one's gonna be interesting because this is my 1 year update to something that I talked about in the past. I will show you guys some clips here right now about what it is that we're gonna be talking about. In my last video on Saturday, I mentioned something while I was drinking a specific product, which is probably going to be green screened out because green screen, and that is Mountain Dew. Yeah, look at that. You can like see through me somewhat. I mentioned something how I was going to talk about it and kind of briefly go over what I was going to say about it, but I said I was going to do it in another video, and this is going to be that video. I'm not a healthy person at all, and I know this. And this has actually been a problem since way past, like, I think I started becoming unhealthy around 2015. Like every stream, as an example, and it's been a meme in my channel and all that other stuff, of me having a Slurpee all the time. And like I couldn't function correctly without it, you know, which is it's fun and all dandy and stuff, but the problem that I had with it was I just didn't focus on trying to be healthy at the time. You know, I was at the time 2015, I was 24, probably around there, and I was naive. I was like, you know what, I don't really care about my health, whatever, this stupid crap. And decided to just drink it all the time because I just didn't care, and I liked the flavor and I enjoyed it, you know. Fast forward now to 2019, and actually no, I'm gonna even backtrack even further. So when I was born, let's put it this way: when I was born, that's how back that we're gonna backtrack, right? I was born with a medical condition called aortic stenosis. Aortic stenosis involves the heart, and it involves specifically the aortic valve, and that specific heart and the aortic valve is pretty much the valve itself is used to pump blood throughout your entire body. There's two different types. You got the aorta and you have the ventricle. So my problem persists with the aorta. Because of this reason, I get problems like heavy breathing, which you've noticed from me in my streams. I breathe a lot. I'm also heavily breathing right now. It is due to the lack of oxygen within my body, and it's my body trying to tell me you need to actually get more oxygen. When it's not actually my body itself that's the problem, it's because I'm just not distributing enough oxygen through my body because of my heart condition. Like I have to breathe right now because of that reason. Another big problem with this is I cannot exercise. It's very hard for me to exercise without being winded or fainting, just because of the amount of blood that I would need to have pumped through my body, and because it's rapidly pushing blood through my body, and it's pretty much a really bad problem for me, especially with my specific health conditions. So on top of that, with the aortic stenosis, I was also diagnosed with something called insufficiency, which is not only the valve itself is narrowed and smaller, it's actually smaller than my ventricle valve, which is just used to pump blood through to my lungs in a sense, so I can actually get the oxygen. So my aortic valve is smaller than my ventricle valve. And on top of that, I have insufficiency, which means that not only am I not pumping enough blood through my body, I'm actually pumping less blood because the blood that I'm pumping through is getting put back into my heart because there is like a hole within my valve. So essentially, I am set for failure in a sense of what my body is like. And I was naive. You know, I was a teenager. I thought I was smart and I knew everything in the world. And, you know, I decided to just say, screw it. The one thing that I did was I was like, you know what, I'm not going to smoke. So I haven't smoked ever. I haven't done weed. I haven't done like marijuana. I haven't done any drugs. I haven't smoked any cigarettes. Like, that's good. Like, I haven't done that stuff. I have drank. Drink is not like, Alcohol doesn't really affect me the way I would have thought it did. I thought it would have been bad for me, but the worst thing that I can get from alcohol is probably lack of water, dehydration, and maybe bad liver. But other than that, like, alcohol is like not bad for the heart, which is a good thing. So I was able to have alcohol, but I don't drink as often. Maybe like once a month. Not even. So and it's like I don't even drink like heavy either. It's like maybe a beer. It's like one can of beer or something. So it's not a heavy problem. But the one thing that I do have a massive problem with, ever since even back when I was younger, is pop. I go through pop like it's nothing. I drink probably about 5 or 6 of these things a day. These cans a day. A day. And note that I have these heart conditions. I probably shouldn't. Like, I mean, you can not read. Like, that's a lot of sugar that I'm putting through my body, right? 40 something, what is it? 46, 15%. So 15%, 30. So 90% of my daily values in sugars alone. Yeah. So why am I talking about this now? Because I have decided that this one specific can is going to be the last one I'm ever going to drink. So, yes, 1 year ago, actually, I uploaded it on the 17th, but this one's going to be uploaded on the 16th. That's fine. 1 year ago, I released a video that said that it was going to have pretty much no more sugar, no more caffeine, no more pop, and it would be pretty much the last drink that I've ever had. So this is about a year into it, and kind of like my experience about what had happened, and where I've been, and what my body's been through. So this can be interesting. So before I get started heavily into this, yes, I've had one other piece of pop, but I only had it recently, and I just wanted to see what my body would have been like just drinking it. And it wasn't even like something caffeinated, it was just something sugary, and that pop specifically was Sprite. I decided, let's just try it and see what my body thinks of it, and see what I think of it, and kind of like a little update to what my body now thinks pop is like. And I could tell you right now, from drinking it, I didn't even drink the whole thing. I drank probably like 7 sips. I thought it was the most disgusting thing I've ever had. To be honest, it was really disgusting. It was like super, super sugary. And it was... I just can't describe anything else but disgusting. Like, I can't give it a description. It just tasted like ass. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. But I use that as an example because I haven't had sugary stuff, or that hella sugary stuff, in almost a year. So... with that being said, that's what my opinion is on pop currently. I have had other sources of caffeine, but they're not very heavy sources. As an example, teas. I do drink tea. It's probably like the one thing that is caffeinated based. Green teas, obviously, that are caffeinated based and have caffeinated in it. Some of the green teas I do drink, or regular teas in a sense, do have sugar. Some of them do. The green teas don't. But the other tea types, they do. My brother buys like cases of Lipton iced tea, peach flavored and green tea flavored. I do drink, obviously, green tea on its own without those type of things. I just get packets and heat up some water and create my own tea. But those ones I'm going to put here as an example of what my body is like when I do drink those, because I do have a specific to those. Pretty much when I started drinking those, I was about maybe 10 months into this, so about 2 months ago. The tea itself only has like 25 milligrams maximum. of caffeine inside of each bottle. It's like a 16-ounce bottle, so it's about the same amount as an actual bottle of water. And it's got quite a bit of sugars. It's got about like 35 grams of sugar, something like that. Quite a bit. Somewhere around there. I don't have exact. Yeah, I don't have an exact bottle to show. But it's roughly around there. And for a comparison to like an actual cup of coffee for 25 milligrams, if you were to take one cup, like not an actual mug cup, like you take like one a cup of those, right? I'm talking about like a measuring cup, right? 1 cup measuring cup of coffee. If you were to cut that into a quarter and you pour it into a fourth of a cup, right? That a little bit of coffee has about 25 milligrams of coffee in it, or caffeine. So that's as much caffeine as I'm getting from one bottle of those teas. And when I drink those teas, I do get hyper. I really do. I kind of perk up and I kind of wake up a little bit. I think it's mainly the sugar that kind of wakes me up really good. And then over time, like the caffeine just kind of settles in and it kind of just keeps me awake. But typically, if I was to drink enough caffeine before I did the change to now, where that amount of caffeine was actually giving me that sort of like wake up feeling, it'd probably take about 2 to 3 cups of coffee, like actual cups of coffee, for me to feel that kind of awakeness. So that's kind of a comparison between what I had before and what I have now. Pretty much throughout the entire year, like I've heavily avoided drinking too many things. Like I don't really like drink the sweet teas as often. I don't really drink the regular green teas as often. It's like very rare. I think total times over the year is like maybe 1 bottle and each day that I did, and I probably drank them maybe 5 or 6 days. So the total 365 days, only 6 bottles in a sense were drank, and they were scattered out about like a week or 2 after each other. So it was like I wasn't heavily drinking them per se. I was just kind of like dabbling into it, just kind of like whatever. But a maximum of 6. And that also includes the Sprite that I took a sip on. So that includes the Sprite, that includes any of the teas that I drank, that heavy hot teas, and any sort of iced teas, in a sense, the Lipton iced teas that I drank. So 6 out of the entire year. That's actually pretty good most of the time during the entire year. I either drank like Gatorade, which does give a lot of sugar in it, but not as much. It's more of a salt. That's to help keep my blood metabolism kind of like staying level in a sense, because I don't get enough salt now. I've limited how much salt I get in my diet, so that's one thing. And then pretty much after that, all I drink is bottles of water. That's all I drink, and any sort of like flavor enhancers I decide to put into it. Typically, I think the stuff I use is I would have to look. I don't remember what they're called. It's like something light. They're like little packets, like this big or something like that. And you rip them open, you put them in the bottle, the top of the bottle, and you mix it up. Those things. And they don't have caffeine. They don't have sugars. So it's like it's literally just a flavor enhancer for the water. Those are the 2 things that I typically drink, and that's pretty much all that I do drink. So now I'm going to get into my body, what it's like now. So before I've had issues with sleeping. I stay up all the time, and it was bad. I would drink caffeine. I had to drink a whole lot of caffeine in the morning, like a Red Bull or 2, just to wake up. Typically 1 Red Bull would be fine. 2 of them were if I had a really bad day. And when I got home, I would drink nothing but like Mountain Dew and all that stuff. That's what I did before, and it was a lot of caffeine. It was crazy. Fast forward to now, technically it takes me 15 minutes to fully wake up from a deep sleep. Once I'm fully awake, I'm actually raring to go, and I'm wide awake, and no one can put me back to sleep. unless if it's like a really dull day. If I'm like sitting behind something doing nothing all day, then I'll actually get bored and I might fall asleep from that. But most of the time I'm fully awake and I'm fully energized and I'm ready to go. I don't have issues with like being super tired. I pulled off a 24-hour live stream the other day, and this was for Terraria's release. Obviously I got a nice little cool destroyer in the background with the Terraria guy. He's right there. Just kind of like attacking him, right? So I'm still interested in the game. I did a 24-hour stream, and during that entire 24-hour stream, I didn't have a single hint of caffeine, and I still stayed up for 36 hours, and I didn't have any issues falling asleep. And I also pretty much put my whole entire track of body back into motion again, like the very next day, pretty much. In a sense, the very next day being the day after. And I didn't feel like I even went to, like, I didn't even feel like I had a 24-hour stream. I just felt completely normal. And it was really, really weird for me because, like, most of the time people would just crash completely. And me, I was a different story. Like, I was tired, you know. I actually felt tired. But it wasn't like anything too drastic or something life-changing, you know. Like, you have to drink caffeine to stay alive. And, you know, drink caffeine to pretty much function. For me, I was just like, whatever. Whatever. I could do this. And it was pretty chill. I mean, like, it wasn't like the worst thing in the world. It was, I could go to bed and I could wake up literally maybe 7-8 hours later and I felt completely normal. It was interesting. When I was getting off the caffeine though, I'll just mention this right now. It was the worst 2 weeks. I'm going to say 3. I'll put 3 in there. It was the worst 3 weeks. If you drink over 200 milligrams, that's fair. If you drink over 250 milligrams of caffeine, which is 2.5 cups of coffee a day, and you're going to try to wean off of drinking coffee all the time, I'm going to tell you this right now. It was the worst 3 weeks that I've ever had in my life. It was so bad. It was a migraine every day. It was the worst feeling in the world. And it sucked. It really did. And there was nothing that a detox could have done to fix it, unfortunately. Your body had to do its own detox itself. I mean, at most, if you really wanted to, like, kind of ease yourself into it, you could have probably done something like milk thistle and kind of helped out a little bit with the milk thistle. But, like, there was nothing that your body could have done. The issue with it was that your body was so dependent on caffeine. Like, your body is actually dependent. Caffeine is considered a drug. Yes, it is. Don't tell me otherwise. A drug where your body is dependent on something. That's what a drug is, right? If your body's dependent on alcohol, that means alcohol's a drug, right? Your body's dependent on marijuana, right? A lot of people will sit there and fight me on it and say, like, oh, they're not dependent on marijuana. But do you take marijuana for the fun of it, or do you take marijuana because of other reasons, right? It is considered a drug because it is and can cause dependencies. It has been known to do so. To the point where people will spend all their money. I've seen people literally waste their money away on buying marijuana. So that's just, I gotta put it out there. You guys can fight me on it. That's fine. I have seen it firsthand. And I'm going to stick to the fact that it is considered a dependent drug. Therefore, I'm going to put it in this section of drugs. But smoking, obviously, dependency, and alcohol. And caffeine's no different. Caffeine, people are so dependent on drinking coffee in the morning. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. We live in America where you can get coffee at any point in time, anywhere. You can find a Starbucks down the corner if you really need to and get yourself your daily caffeine intake. It's kind of insane. And I don't want to be, I want to be the opposite guy. I want to be the guy that, like, everyone kind of respects for kind of deviating away from that. But I'm just letting you guys know right now, if you ever try to wean off of coffee or get rid of coffee out of your life, or caffeine in general, there's a lot of stuff that has caffeine that you probably don't even realize. Obviously, teas and stuff and pops and, you know, coffee as an example. But there's also stuff like chocolates too. Chocolates also have caffeine. There's a lot of different things that do. So it's really, really difficult. It really is. Yeah, but for 3 weeks, it was just absolute migraine. The last week of it was not as bad of a migraine, but it was still a migraine. It's like my body was trying to figure out how to wake me up. And for 3 weeks, it was me trying to figure out how to get up because I couldn't get up very well. I had an issue sleeping. And yeah, it was difficult. Fast forward to now, I still have issues sleeping, and I think that has to do with how much caffeine I had before. So my body is still like really having issues with sleeping. But when I do go to bed, I do go to bed. And when I wake up, I usually am up within 15 minutes. It's actually insane. And I do like that feeling. I still have to take some sort of sleep support at night if I have to get up or go to bed early. So things like melatonin, as an example, I still take that, especially if I have to get up at like 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning, just because it's sometimes really, really difficult for me. But other than that, like, I can go to bed. Like last night I took melatonin because I had to wake up at 5 this morning. But pretty much it's really nice to be able to just wake up and not have to be like, oh, I have to make a cup of joe, or oh, I got to actually make coffee or go to Starbucks or go to the store and buy a Red Bull or any sort of like caffeinated heavy drink because I have to, right? I don't have to like depend on, as an example, there's creators out there that depend on G Fuel. I don't have to depend on G Fuel. Like that's, I don't have anything like that to worry about. I just wake up, drink some water. I'm good to go. So yeah, that's pretty much this video. I might make another video here pretty soon, kind of discussing like where the channel's going to go. Cause I did release like something, but it kind of fell flat in a sense. And it fell flat in a sense because, I wasn't like, I was going hard on it and I was playing it every day. Like Terraria, I'm mentioning Terraria here. I was playing it all the time and having fun and playing it every day. And it's just, in my opinion, it just doesn't feel like a 100% fleshed out content update that I am used to the Terraria devs actually releasing. It felt like to me it was like more 70% aesthetics, ideals, etc., fleshing out gameplay, fleshing out looks, fleshing out like the pretty much the genre itself and the game itself to make it look like a better game, quality of life stuff. And then maybe 10% of that was tweaks and changes to the game. Or not 10%, sorry. 20% of it was tweaks and changes to the game. And then 10% of it was actual new content. Because of that, I just don't have like a huge interest in the game right now. It literally felt like 1.3 plus, in my opinion. And I'm just not like heavily focused into it. I will still try to like do my hardcore run that I've been doing. But like, yeah, that's about it. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and head out. Video's going a little bit too long. I'm going to have to edit it down. So, thank you guys for watching. This is my update video 1 year into it, and I hope you guys kind of get some ideas about if you're interested in doing it or not. So if you do, let me know. I would like to hear your stories and see if you guys had the same issue that I did, specifically like with migraines and stuff. If you didn't do it and you're tempted on doing it, just be forewarned. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. This is Shaw. I'm out of here.